Hey guys, happy Weirdness Day. I hope everybody's still surviving the coronavirus. How are you handling the corona?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Work is about to reopen,
yeah.
so
Do you think it's too early to reopen?
I do, but
Yeah. I guess some places are showing spikes and, since some states that have reopened are showing spikes in cases, but we're expecting that to happen. I mean, life goes on. What are you supposed to do? I don't think anybody has the right answer to all that. But, I guess that's the thing about people is that people are weird. So, that's what we're going to talk to you guys about today.
weird motherfucker.
We're going to talk about some strange, unusual individuals, and we'll kind of talk about, what makes them unusual. That's the fun thing about the human race is that there's just so many great characters out there, and and we thought, why not go ahead and showcase some of those people. So, I think we should go ahead and get started. So, one of the people that I wanted to talk to you guys about, it's actually a really fun story. So this guy, his name is Satomu Yamaguchi.
Gucci.
Gucci. He was actually a naval engineer and in Japan, and he was actually working in Hiroshima in 1945 when the atomic bomb went off. Now, Yamaguchi, he saw the plane and he saw something come out of the plane and he decided to take the nearest ditch that he could. And when he did, the bomb went off and he kind of, came to. And when he looked around his surroundings, he couldn't see anything. He said it was pitch black. And that wasn't because he was blinded. It was just because of the smoke from the bomb. So he goes and he stays all night in an air raid shelter. And the next day, he had heard from a couple other survivors that were there that the train in the next town over was still operational, and that people were getting on it and leaving Hiroshima. So he goes to get on this train, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but that in and of itself is a feat. Because, he had to swim through a river and everything to get to this train. And so he gets on the train and he goes home. And his wife and kids, they were shocked because they knew that a bomb went off in Hiroshima. They knew he was there, and they were like, he didn't survive. But he comes home, he's all burned up. He's got burns all over his body, but he's alive. So, he spends the night at home, takes care of his burns, and goes into work the next day. Where he lived and where his regular job was in Nagasaki. So, if you're familiar with history at all, Yamaguchi goes to work and he's reporting to his superiors, explaining what happened. And while he's doing that, big flash goes off, big bang, another bomb hit. And so he was now a part of the second atomic bombing that happened in Japan, and he survived. He lived.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and the bomb, it killed a lot of people, but no, he lived, and he actually he did get radiation poisoning, but I mean he lived until 2010. He died in 2010, so that's pretty magnificent. I mean, not a lot of people can live to tell that story, and especially go on like that with radiation poisoning. He just was not about to go down.
Right.
Yamaguchi was a badass motherfucker. But I thought that was kind of cool. People can really do some pretty amazing things when it comes to survival and stuff like that, and you don't even do it on purpose. It's just adrenaline kicks in, and that's what you do. I mean, if you saw a bomb coming, would you know to dive into a ditch? I mean,
no. Bitch, where's the ditch to dive into?
Right. That's true. So yeah, I mean, I thought that was a cool story. I guess that's more of an amazing feat rather than a weird one. But, again, he survived 2 bombs with radiation poisoning, into his old age. I mean, he lived his full life. And so it's that's for whatever reason, it just was not his time.
Well, wrong place, wrong time.
Right. He just, not today. You know, I don't know if he decided something like that. I've always wondered, like, people that go through stuff like that, is it because they just have the will to survive something like that? Do they will it? They're like, I'm not dying here and now, and so they don't? Or, I mean, is it some type of divine intervention? I mean, you know, he didn't go on to, like, invent something crazy or anything, you know? So it's like, why him?
I mean, any impact is an impact.
Well,
So-
that's true. Yeah, I mean, that's not to say he didn't have... His family lived, too, in the Nagasaki. That's where they lived. They all lived in Nagasaki, and his family survived also.
Did his family live in Hiroshima too?
No. They didn't. He was just there for work or whatever, because he's a naval engineer, so he's working on a ship, and, you know, when the bomb hit. So, yeah, his family, like I said, lived in Nagasaki, and I don't know. I kind of feel like it was almost personal. Like we were trying to purposely take him out.
What were they trying to take him out for?
He went home. He's like, I survived this. And like when he was telling his superiors and stuff about what happened, they didn't believe him. They're like, a bomb could not do anything like that. Well, it was the atomic bomb. It was a new, it was a new thing. And I mean, but you've seen those pictures and stuff of like, you know, where the bomb went off and there's like the marks of people's bodies and shit still on the street to this day. You know, where the bomb hit, and it's like it was crazy destruction. And so the fact that he survived 2 atomic bombs is just amazing.
Imagine being in a bomb attack like now. Like how devastating that would be.
With our advances in technology.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
like,
pretty much
so much shit would go down.
Yeah. Somebody like mentioned something to me about how like when countries, well, like we feud all the time with North Korea and shit because he's gonna bomb us or whatever. But how countries get into like arguments over like, oh, I could blow up the world 5 times over.
Did you see how Iran blew up one of their own ships and killed 19 people?
When did that happen this week?
I think it was today.
What?
Yeah, I think so. If it wasn't today, it was sometime this week.
It was this week. Who knows what day it is anymore?
Right. Girl, everything just blurs together. Was that yesterday or today? I don't know. I slept from 3 to 7 today, so...
I just figured out it was May today. I had no idea. I'm like, aren't we still in March? Whatever, they both have an M. Same thing.
Right.
Oh, that's crazy. What happened there?
I don't know. I didn't read it.
I didn't read the details. Just all the headlines.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wow.
Yeah, it was like everywhere too.
I haven't seen that yet. I'm surprised.
I think I first seen it on Twitter, which is like, I don't really use Twitter, so
true.
It's like, well, I get notifications for it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't even think I follow anybody. I think I have like 0 followers.
You follow people, but not nearly as many people as you should.
I don't know. Well, I've made other ones in the past.
Yeah.
So I might have been looking at one that doesn't have any.
That's true.
So I don't know why I got that notification, but
it'll just tell you. Like sometimes it'll just be like, "Oh, for you in the news" or something.
Yeah.
And it just assumes that you're interested. I don't know, because it's always something I'm not really too interested in, and it's like I don't care about this. Like, like I don't know. But wow, that's crazy. I had no idea that happened today. Well, anyway, that's Yamaguchi.
Yamaguchi.
He's a badass. Like I said, that's
He did the damn thing.
He did.
He lived life.
He did. You know what? And he probably really did after that. Can you imagine living after that? You'd have so much survivor's guilt, though.
Yeah. And well, now he's been dead for 10 years. He said he passed in
2010.
2010.
Yeah, 2010. That's true. Yeah, and then you'd have to just live. Just imagine, like, you go home after something like that, and it's like, with your trauma, your traumatized mind. You're like, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. He probably just wanted to go to bed.
Right.
Take a shower and go to bed.
Can a dude get disability?
But he went into work the next day after the first bomb, which is crazy. Like, fucking went into work and and everything. But I guess you have to. I mean, he had to report what happened. I mean, so I don't know, still, I wouldn't go into work. I'd be like, I need the week off.
Right.
I can't be here. He would have been fine at home too, because like I said, his family lived, so he would have been just fine. But but then he gets up, he goes to work, he's in the middle of telling them what happened. They're like, no, that didn't happen. That's not real. No, there's no weapon like that exists. And the fucking bomb comes out of nowhere. That's horrible. It's like, guess what?
Yeah, I thought.
You about to find out, yeah. You gonna learn today. I don't know, but yeah, Yamaguchi, much respect to him, So the next person I wanted to talk about is this sweet old lady. Her name is Jo Cameron. And Jo Cameron, she found out at 65 years old, she went into the hospital because she couldn't walk. There was something, going on. She'd kind of have a limp or whatever, but she wasn't like in any pain or anything. And she went to a doctor. She went to a couple doctors, and because she wasn't in pain, they were just like, we don't know why you have. Yeah, we don't know why you have this limp. Sorry. Well, finally, a doctor, took an X-ray of her hip, and come to find out, her hip was pretty much gone. Like, she was pretty much not there anymore. It was so fucked up. She had really bad arthritis, and she needed a hip replacement. And so she got the hip replacement done. And then the same doctor figured out that her hands were in really bad shape. And, again, she had osteoarthritis, and they needed to do some surgery on her hands, which is one of the most excruciating surgeries that you can have done. And she gets the surgery done, and afterwards, and after both surgeries, she insisted on not having any painkillers. The doctor is like, are you sure? Because this is a horrible surgery. And she didn't feel it. She wasn't in pain. So he ended up sending her to a specialist, and what they found out, they did a bunch of genealogy testing on her, and what they found out was that she has this super rare genetic mutation where she does not feel pain. She doesn't feel any pain at all. And it took her until she was 65 to even realize it. And, it's kind of wild because, she's had, she broke her arm as a kid, and only went to the hospital days later because it was starting to, set weird and look weird. And she had 2 kids, and she says childbirth was like a tickle. She'll, eat spicy food. It doesn't affect her, but she never really thought anything was different about her until she had this surgery. And then, come to find out it's this mutation that she's got. Well, the mutation also, she actually has 2 different, I won't go into the super science of it all, but she actually has 2 of her genes, 2 different ones, which, something about pain receptors and blah, 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 that are mutated. And one of the genes was something that we didn't even know existed until we had tested her. And so they actually discovered this new gene plus gene mutation. Because not only does she not feel physical pain, she also does not feel emotional pain. Right.
Well,
she just thought that's the way life was. She's just so happy, and that's just who she is. And but no, she doesn't feel anxiety. She doesn't have any depression. They gave her an anxiety and depression test, and her score was 0. And she doesn't feel that. And so, but it is interesting because it's she talks about the problems that she does have. She'll be ironing her clothes, and she'll iron herself. And the only reason why she knows is because she can smell it. Doesn't feel it.
Yeah, I've seen
people like that.
Well, I haven't seen people like that, but I've seen it be talked about how dangerous it actually is to not feel pain. And it's a weird thing to think about, that we feel pain so that way we can respond to what's happening. But it's why is that the way that we have to know to respond? There isn't any other way. Well, making childbirth feel like a tickle. Oh, I think I'm going into labor.
Yay! Well, with her, what they're going to do is, they are trying to use her to figure out how to manage pain better. So what she's excited about. She, again, she has no negative thoughts. So of course for her, she's like, yeah, of course. But it is a, it is a new thing, and it's really kind of fun. She just doesn't really have any physical or mental problems, which is great. And it's like crazy stuff too. Like she said, like she got into this horrible like rollover car accident, and like she gets out of the car and she's fine. So she goes over and like comforts the other driver that she got into the accident with, and she was like, the girl was all freaking out. She wasn't. She just didn't really question, like, how do you go that long in your life not knowing that this is not normal? You know? I guess if you're so happy all the time, you just wouldn't question it. I mean, I guess like, why would you?
This is normal.
But people are like, oh, I'm so sad. You'd be like, oh, I don't know what that is.
Never heard of her.
You're right. So, but it's genetic. And then like her, they think that it came from her father's side. So like her dad passed it down to her, and then they've tested her daughter, and they've tested her son. Her daughter doesn't have it, but her son does. And so, so they're, they'll probably use him too. And he's excited about helping people. But he only has one of the genetic mutations and not two of them. Like I said, hers is 2 genes, and his is only 1 mutated gene. But it's the important one that they need for, I don't know, pain management or something. But it also causes, her one that makes her happy all the time, it also causes forgetfulness. So, she just forgets things easily. But shit, bitch, I've done so many drugs. Like,
right, I'm already
I got
forgetful.
That too. I don't remember.
Like, how can I bypass all this pain, honey?
Right. So, but yeah, they're using her to try to, figure out what to do with her. But there's like a video. It's really cute. There's a video on the internet of her. She's like this old Scottish lady. She's so sweet. There's like a video of her like eating this super hot pepper, and she's just like, I do this every Sunday, or whatever. I don't know what she says, but yeah,
straight
she just
into
eats it and doesn't feel it. It would be such a different world. But then again, you would lose out on a lot of like important life lessons because you don't feel sad. Think of the thing, like think of like what sadness brings you. What those like deep dark moments that we all have in our life, like what you end up creating out of that. I mean, it ends up. Teaching you something valuable and, helping you get, but I guess you'd have the motivation already to just do whatever.
Right. I mean, just do the damn thing. True.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I mean,
yeah, it would be weird.
It sounds good, like in practice, but that would be, I guess that would probably only be like if I could like start today and like not have any like physical or emotional pain. Just start right now.
It's done.
I'm like, oh, okay, I did it already. Yeah. So I already have the life lessons, but that's one of those things. But like if she ever got like a severe infection, like I wonder how like colds and stuff work. Like if she gets like the common cold, like would she know that it's getting bad or not? Yeah,
that's no idea. One of the dangers.
Right. She doesn't have. Well, that's what she says. She doesn't have any of those alarms. She doesn't have any like need. She's got like no adrenaline to like get well, and that's kind of where the forgetfulness like comes in, like because she's got no like alarm system at all in her body. Then like the adrenaline doesn't really kick in. That's why it didn't really kick in when she got into the car accident. She wasn't reacting because she doesn't react. So it's like. I guess that's a curse too, but she's very sweet. I mean, she's not like a weird monotone, sad
heartless person.
Yeah, she's very sweet. So, but I don't know, guys. That's little Jo Cameron. She's still alive. She's still around. So, look her up. Look her up. You had a person you wanted to talk about. I think we should get in a what you got for us.
Well, I think it's not just her. It's the entire scene. And
I'm excited.
she is just probably, I don't know, my favorite of all of them.
Okay.
But it's Amanda Lepore, the world's most famous transsexual, as they used to call her. But, as that's kind of become more of a mainstream thing now, she's been known as the most expensive body on earth.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can tell in her appearance.
She's literally just so beautiful. Like, and there's people that think she's ugly, but it's like you're only saying that because you don't actually like see her.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of path it is that she is paving, you know, for expression, not just gender expression, but just being able to share who we are and how we want to be. Like, you know, that's how she views herself, so that's the way she presents herself.
I mean, that's the whole group, though. That's kind of what they're about. That's why they're precious. But there are some sketch going on in that group.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
You know, that'll happen with any group. You know, you'll have those people. But yeah, she is kind of the ringleader there, isn't she?
Well, I wouldn't say the ringleader, but she did probably get the most fame.
She stood the test of time.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's still relevant. Yeah. That's
RuPaul probably ended up the best out of all of them. Yeah. No doubt.
Probably.
You know, now Amanda Lepore, she, you know, has a lot going for her, but she's definitely not number one.
Right. I guess that's true.
But, you know, that whole group was just like, those are the two that like walked away with it all.
Yeah.
You know, they were the ones that were the true stars. And, you know, it's really kind of interesting that both of those people walked out with the most, but are, you know, what is, you know, like, Ru is a man.
Yeah.
And men are, you know, generally supposed to be more, like, successful. It's like, you know, just how our structure of society is built. So, but he also does drag. So he's got this, like, feminine side to him. Whereas Amanda Lepore was born male. Mm-hmm. And she's transitioned to female, and she has this strong feminine expression as well. Yeah. And it's like, of all the people, these two are the ones that came out as icons. Yeah. You know, they're the ones that are still successful to this day.
Yeah.
You know, but Amanda Lepore, she actually started out as a dominatrix before she became a go-go dancer. Yes. And you know, back in, you know, that time, it wasn't really okay.
Yeah, so
you know, they told her basically that she needed to not tell people that she was trans.
Yeah.
But, you know, this was like before, like, all the surgery. Like, I mean, she had surgery and stuff. She had her sex change at 19.
Okay.
Her first husband, her dad actually paid for it.
Oh, what?
He was like, he was putting money away for his son. And, you know, he told him, he was like, you know, I was going to give this to you, but we could pay for Amanda's surgery.
That's really sweet.
Well,
okay.
He also adopted her.
Oh.
Yeah, because her dad wasn't supportive and her mom had schizophrenia.
That's really sweet.
So everything kind of went smoothly with that adoption because of those circumstances. Like, her dad doesn't really care. Like, she's actually got a book called Doll Parts, and it's an interesting book because it's a biography, but it's more of like a coffee table book. Like, it's got pictures.
Okay.
Because she's been photographed by some of like the most famous photographers. But, you know, she went through all of that and it didn't work out with him. I don't really know why. I'm not even sure how many husbands she's had. If it's been more
since
than
then,
one.
yeah.
But, you know, she's said in interviews that she's got over $100,000 in her body. And,
I believe it.
You know, she's also said that she didn't pay for most of it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm sure somewhere along the line she had husbands or boyfriends that like to spoil her. And I mean, who wouldn't? She's
like a good husband does.
Right. I mean, she is a fucking goddess.
Yeah.
Like, she literally looks like Marilyn Monroe and Jessica Rabbit as one fucking person.
Yeah.
And it's really cool that she's kind of got this, like, old Hollywood feel to her, but it's still modern. Like, she brings it to this time.
She'll shift with the times enough to stay relevant, which isn't a bad thing. She's really good at being hip to the times.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what happens anyway when you're a trendsetter.
Right.
You know, so you kind of just naturally have that ability to not only, you don't just like adapt to like the trends, but you make it better.
Right.
So, I mean, that makes sense.
She's also like, she was one of the first like famous people to be in public essentially naked. Just like pasties and
just out in public, yeah.
And being very open about it.
I always forget how long she's been around for, and she's been around for a while.
Right. And that brings acceptance for people like, these famous pop stars that want to wear less and less, which is amazing in my eyes. I think that's a great thing that, people want to share their body in that way because bodies are beautiful.
Yeah.
But, like, if she didn't do that, it could have been like Little Kim. That bitch really pushed the boundaries.
She did.
But it's like, I think both of them doing that really says a lot for female empowerment because they both had different struggles. Yeah. Whereas Little Kim is a black woman.
Yeah.
And
not only a woman, but a black woman. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then Amanda Lepore is a trans woman.
As a trans woman,
so both of them really challenged society in a really great way that's, I feel made us better.
Yeah, that's true.
But, she was essentially a club kid. Yeah. And, I don't think it was even long before, like, she came out onto the club scene after she was the dominatrix. And then it was like everybody that was the club kids started going on TV shows and being interviewed and things like that. So she just kind of got in there and then it just like took off.
For her,
And, I feel like some of that credit does need to go to her, because like if she's coming onto the scene and then all of a sudden these TV stations are interested in these people, there's something there that's really pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
And what is going to do that? A trans woman.
That's true.
Or a trans man.
That wasn't so unheard of with the club kids, though. I mean, they had a lot of, I guess they mostly had like queens and stuff. Queens and kings. But, I mean, they definitely had their people. But the thing about her is that she's never really, like, asked for anything from it. Like,
right.
She was in the scene and she definitely was a big part of that scene. But then she just walked away and did her,
Yeah,
and
she blew up.
She did, right.
Everybody wanted to.
So her patience paid off. I mean, I think she did the right thing with that. But how do we explain the club kids to people that are young and don't know what the club kids are?
Weird. Just weird.
They started this movement, back in the 80s?
Yeah,
probably,
80s, 90s.
Right. They started this big movement of expression. You guys nowadays, you have social media influencers. Back then, you had club kids. And and they would host these large parties. And, I mean, of course, there was a bunch of drugs and a bunch of scandal and chaos. But they really caught, this, like, mostly started in, like, New York. It kind of started with, like Andy Warhol, and
he was part of that.
He was part of it, but he kind of started it, and then it like shifted into the club kids, and then it just kind of, But they would go to different they would host like all these different parties in the New York scene and stuff like that. They would like promote different artists. I mean, sometimes they do, they do like drag shows and stuff like that, and then eventually, the rest of the world were kind of catching wind of these weird people that dressed up in costume and and did ecstasy all night.
Yeah.
And then they started traveling around and going on TV, and then more people found out about them, and people from all over the country would then move to New York to become a club kid. I mean, it was it was a big thing.
Well, and then there's also people that like were not really club kids, but they were like who club kids like looked up to. You know, like Boy George. Like,
yeah,
I think he may have been a club kid, but he's not like one of the club kids.
He was kind of that same. He had the same aesthetic,
right?
I guess that's more of what it was. It was more of an aesthetic than anything. And so, yeah, he definitely had. Yeah, he had that. Can you think of anybody now off the top of your head that would have been probably a club kid?
Some would say Lady Gaga, but
Jeffree Star.
No,
you don't think so?
No.
Why?
I feel like he would be at the club, but I don't think he.
You don't think he would have been involved?
Well,
even Jeffree Star in MySpace days.
No.
Okay.
And that's not like a knock towards Jeffree Star, but like he doesn't really have that same kind of vibe. You know,
might be right
it's
about
like.
That.
See, with like Amanda Lepore, she kind of had like this sex and like this appeal about her, and you know, Rue was a drag queen, and James St. James was just weird. I mean, they all had like their things, you know, but there was nothing really that Jeffree Star did, in my opinion, that is iconic in the same way that the things that they did would be iconic.
That's true. That's true.
No,
well, but maybe that's just because they've already done it. You know?
Right. Then there comes that discussion.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't really know if there's really anybody that comes off the top of my head that's a club kid or would be considered a club kid.
Like a modern day club
because
kid. There
everything
really
is just kind of transformed into this open and free expression that it kind of essentially makes us all club kids if we do anything different.
Well, right, and I think that's what people aren't really, you know, that's the impact really, like, of the club kids, was that they were so bizarre, they were so different. Like, look at pictures, like, guys, when you get a minute, Google them, and look at the pictures of, like, their costumes, and, like...
You know what? There's actually a queen on RuPaul's Drag Race now. Her name is Crystal Method.
Okay.
She is
cute.
fucking amazing.
That's cute
She
name.
does this, like, really crazy, like, face paint type mugs.
Okay.
And just, like, lots of glitter. And she looks like El DeBarge.
Okay.
Got a mullet and everything. She's so fabulous. So she could be considered.
She could be one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, people didn't do that. Like, men didn't wear makeup. You know, people didn't just go out in costume. And these people did crazy shit. They didn't just, like, go to clubs and party. Like, they would, like, take over. Well, like, there's the famous, like, Michael Alex story where they went down to, like, the burger joint or whatever, like the burger restaurant, and they had, like, a fucking rave, like, at this, like, it was like McDonald's or something. I don't know if I'm allowed to say McDonald's, but whatever it was, they had, like, a rave there, and there's, like, 200 fucking people just dancing and raving at this burger joint. Like, and that's what they would do. They would just set up shop somewhere, have these huge events, and just hang out with each other. I mean, there's a lot of dancing, there's a lot of loving.
Yeah.
A lot of drugs.
There's this funny picture of Amanda Lepore sitting in a Pizza Hut.
Okay, that's cute.
And that made me think of that.
And it's right, and it's just, you know, you didn't see people that looked like that. Like, you didn't, you know, we weren't there yet as a society of people just doing whatever they wanted to do, you know, and so. You know, that's why it was so big. Like, nowadays, it's not really a big deal. There's a whole website of people of Walmart. You know what I mean? Right. Like, it's not a thing now, but then it was.
Especially in the nightlife.
Right.
You know, now it's just kind of like the norm.
It's normal. Right. Whereas, if you're going out, like, you better dress up. Yeah.
When they were going out to the nightclubs, the way they were like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, that was like,
bizarre.
they still had that moment even in the nightlife.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, we could have that moment during the daytime going to Walmart.
Maybe, right. You might see somebody, they stick out, you know.
But,
yeah.
you know, if you go out at night, like, you're going to see anybody and everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but their big message, I mean, and they would say it to everybody, was just, to enjoy your life. I mean, enjoy you, love you, express you, be who you are. And, you know, that really kicked off. I mean, we've got that movement now, you know, for the most part. I think for the majority of people right now are okay with, at least the newer generations, are okay with you being who you want to be, you know. Right. But that's what started, like, your and I's generation of, like, thought process. We're both 90s babies. Like, that's...
Well, you know. I think with Amanda Lepore, she really is the one that helped set us up for that, because she was famous just for being her, doing what she wanted. And then it's like, once we had these social media platforms, we're able to see people like Jeffree Star. We're able to see all these influencers that, you know, we could have potentially missed out on if, you know, Amanda and the Club Kids didn't do what they did. You know, Amanda especially, because, like, she was on the runways, like, she was at the red carpets, she's been in music videos.
She's been everywhere, yeah.
Like, she was on fucking French Playboy. You know, she really is just authentically her, and that's what really got her rise out of this. And it doesn't surprise me that she's a Scorpio.
No, is she?
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Right, you just look at her and it's like, that's
she's got that big dick energy,
right? You know,
that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. Yeah, she's something. Her and that whole scene is just, it's something. I mean, it's like a whole, it's pretty magical. That's all I wanted to be for the longest time back in my drug days. I just wanted to restart the Club Kid revolution and do it all over again. Because it's so, well, you know, I mean, I've had times where I used to go out and stuff, and, you know, and it's just, you're just in a whole different world. You just get into a different mindset when you are living that freely. Yeah. You know, and so it's, you know, I think it's healthy to a certain extent.
That's the real aliens.
What?
The people that
don't do
like,
that?
No, that are, like, these people that allow this expression to be, like, who we truly are.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, people that have that ability to do that and not care what society thinks or how that might look on us.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, we care to a certain degree.
Right.
You know, it's not like we're just out here fucking doing fucking ratchet shit. Like,
yeah.
Gang,
well, right. That was the issue with the Club Kids, is that eventually they were doing ratchet shit.
Right.
And, you know, that ended up being the downfall. I mean, that's, you know, and, you know, thankfully, the bigger influencers, like you said, like RuPaul and Amanda Lepore, James St. James, they walked away from it. They're like, nope. And that's, you know, that's where they've come to now. When you go and look back at, like, most of those big influencers, most of them are dead now. Yeah. You know, most of them died from drug overdoses, or, you know, well, fuck, Michael Allen killed the one guy.
Yeah.
You know,
Angel Melendez.
But is that what it is, Melendez, or is it Hernandez? It was probably Melendez.
I think it's Melendez.
But yeah, he killed him. He's out of prison now. Did you know that? He got paroled. He's out. He's on social media. Yeah, he's been on YouTube and everything. And it's like, he's such a tired old queen. It's like, you need to
just get dusty.
Right. You killed somebody and chopped them up. Like,
right.
What
Don't
the fuck?
nobody give a fuck about you.
Right. It's so bizarre. He never talks about it though.
Well, they put him in a tub with fucking Drano and like baking soda, and, like, I don't even know.
They kept throwing shit in there because I don't know if you guys have ever been to, like, basically a trap house. But there's people in and out of those motherfuckers, and everybody's fucked up, and nobody walked in there and was like, there's a dead body in here. I mean, nobody really, and he was in it for like 2 weeks, and then they were like, well, we got to do something. It stinks, you know, finally, and chopped him up and threw him into the river, and he went around and he told everybody about it. He was bragging about it. just didn't give a fuck at all. Just told everyone, because that's just who he is. He's an attention whore. Yeah. A lot of people didn't believe him. You know, they're like, yeah, right. You know, we've known people like that.
Right.
Like if Eric, I shouldn't say names.
Like if that one dude we both know.
If that one dude we both know ended up.
We won't say names.
Ended up, you know, saying something like that, would be like, whatever, you know. So, I mean, it's just...
But then, you know, at the same time...
He could be because he is who he is.
Right! You never know.
So that did end up being the downfall of it, you know. And that was just kind of how it all fell apart, really, was... You know, once that murder happened, then the club kids had this horrible name. And like I said, granted, look, a lot of them weren't good people. A lot of them were. They were, you know, a bunch of drug addicts that's what they did. They were in the party scene. That's all they did all the time. And so, and who knows? They probably, you know, some of them have killed other people or whatever. You know, who knows? But, yeah, but some of them did make it out. And they did end up, you know, making it and stuff. Watch Party Monster.
Yeah.
Watch Party Monster. If you guys want to know more about the Club Kids, it's specifically more about Michael Alig and the Angel murder. But watch it. It really, you know, and it's kind of fun. It's Macaulay Culkin. Yeah. Like a Home Alone kid.
That song. Oh God, you can actually find it on YouTube. It's actually
Amanda Lepore.
It's Macaulay Culkin where he's singing, and it actually sounds good.
Money.
He's crazy, you know.
He played such a good role in that movie. He's actually done, like, some of the stuff that he's done a really good job. I'm like, wow, this is Macaulay Culkin. He's fun. He's a lot of fun. I'd like to hang out with him.
He's on this YouTube channel that I've seen. I don't even know what it was, but they were like playing VHS Jenga.
Okay.
And like he was funny.
Yeah,
like, he's goofy,
cute.
But I don't like looking at him anymore.
No, he went downhill for like a long time, but I think he's back now. I think he's like making a comeback because I've seen him in a lot of stuff in like the past 2 years.
Yeah, I hope he does come back.
I do too. He is really funny. He's not cute, but he is really funny. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, if you guys want to know more, watch that. James St. James wrote a book about it all. About that situation. It's really good. It was called Disco Bloodbath, but he ended up renaming it when the movie came out. And it's called Party Monster as well. So read the book. It's good. It's really interesting. I mean, it goes into details about you wouldn't believe the amount of drugs these people were doing. I mean, it was just crazy. It was crazy. It is an interesting kind of life, but I suggest digging into the people. I do, because that's what makes it fun. I mean, you can hear like the general stories, but like when you like attach yourself to somebody in the group, like you just, I don't know, they just resonate. There's somebody in the Club Kids that you will resonate with.
Yeah, there's one for everybody.
Right, there's one for everybody. Mine happens to be James St. James. I don't know. I've got a super soft spot for him. You know, don't get me wrong. I think he's a bitch too, but
right.
But they all kind of are. But yeah, so, Amanda Lepore, and she was 100%, you know, in that scene. When you look up the pictures, you'll see her, you know, and that was the whole thing has been a big, I said it earlier, a big trendsetter. I mean, it's why we have a lot of the things that we do now. And so, you know, I think that's fun. And
she's been in movies, she's been magazines. Everywhere. She's got her own music. She's a DJ.
Yeah.
You know,
and her music's good. Like it's good stuff. You know, I don't think there's ever been anything that like I've that she's been in or done or whatever that I haven't liked. So
I really like her cover of Sunglasses at Night.
Yeah.
The video for it is just.
I don't think I've seen the video for it. I probably have. I just don't.
She's like licking her lips and shit, just like being Amanda.
She's so amazing. She's got that air about her, you know. She just doesn't. She, like you said, she's unapologetically her. And you know, if the rest of the world could be that, just imagine the things that we could do if we could just let go of what other people thought of us or what we did, or. You know, because I've thought about, you know, especially being a creator, I've thought about that. And, you know, I could definitely relate to certain things because it's like, a lot of the stuff is hard to get into because it's like you have a stupid fear, you know, and it's always something dumb. It's always something really dumb. Like me, like sitting down and like recording a YouTube video, there's always a certain fear with it. Like, oh, I'm going to sound stupid, or oh, I'm going to make a stupid face. And it's like, the only person that's going to notice that shit is me. You know, you're at the end of the day, you're your own worst critic. And if you could just let go of that, I mean, think of all the shit you could do. I don't know. I think everybody should be more like Amanda.
Yeah.
I think that's what.
Well, and the great thing about her is she's always had class.
She has.
You know,
Yeah,
even when she was
has.
Naked Girl, she was classy.
Yeah.
Well, she's just a work of art, but...
Because you can be beautiful, and you can be smart, and you can be whatever the hell you want to be. Being, you know, a woman, being a trans woman, being, you know...
A drag queen,
being
like
right.
Rue.
Right. You can do whatever you want to do and be what you want to be. And these people definitely prove that. You know, they do. And it's just... And they don't do anything special. People just... For whatever reason, people admire them more so than other people. You know, they get a lot more recognition.
It is special. That's the thing, though. It's like, it's this... You know, what we all want for ourselves, but we, for whatever reason, don't allow ourselves to experience it.
Yeah.
But because they're so authentically them, they're able to really be an inspiration.
That's true.
So it is something special, but it's like something that we're all
capable of.
Right.
We're all capable of. Will everybody do it? No. But we all could. We all could. And I know I've you know, I've had to learn that lately when I had to throw myself into the world of creating. You know, that I can do this. There's no reason why I can't.
Right.
There's nothing stopping me but me.
It's like RuPaul right now. He's got the secret celebrity drag race. And, like, he's had some people on there that, you know, were, like, these straight dudes that were, like, empowered by drag.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Like, this one guy, his mother had passed away, and she was a lesbian, but she watched RuPaul. And, like, the queen did his makeup, and he looks in the mirror and he was like, it was weird to see my mom for the first time since she died. And it was crazy. Like, they showed a picture and, like, he looked so much like her. And,
so that's a way that he can still connect with her.
Right. And that's what he said.
Yeah.
And, like, there's, the dude from Schitt's Creek. Have you watched that yet?
No. I haven't watched Schitt's Creek yet. I'm so sorry.
You have to get onto it because it is so good.
I haven't yet.
But one of the characters on that show was on there, and he was actually, like, crying, just like... Aww. I mean, so was the other dude. Yeah. But it's just, like, it's crazy what that kind of experience does for people.
Yeah, exactly. And drag is very much like that. Like, people don't understand it. It's not... It doesn't have to be a kink thing.
Right.
Like, it doesn't have to be sexual. It can be, you know, something like that, where it's just another way for him to connect to somebody that was important to him, or... You know, just there's so many different reasons why people do it.
As RuPaul says, you're born and the rest is drag. And it's true. You know, the thing about it is like you have this alternate persona that you're allowed to step into.
Right.
And that's when you can feel like yourself. That's when your authentic self comes out.
Well, everybody
because
does
you don't
that.
have to, like, be the same. Like, it's weird.
Yeah, everybody kind of does that. Everybody kind of has some type of escape, you know, that they can step outside of themselves. Some people it's video games. Some people it's movies. There's cosplayers. I mean, that's very similar to drag, you know, that you can just get outside of your norm and who you are and tap into this part of your brain that you don't get to do, you know, very often or whatever. And I think that's really... I don't know, that's something really special.
That's what life's about, you know. It ain't about going to work and having this great career. Like, those things are nice and you should do those. Yeah. But, you know, if you're just doing that and you're not being yourself, you're really missing out on life.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's very true. Okay, well, I think we should move on to our next and final person. People.
Right.
people rather. And this, I saved the weirdest for last, I believe, because it is a very strange topic of discussion. So, what I kind of want to talk to you guys about today was the Jim twins. And they're actually Ohio natives. They were born and raised in Ohio. So the Jim twins were these, two twin boys. They were born in like the 1940s or whatever. And they were adopted out to separate families. And both families named both child James. And so, they were, both ended up being named Jim. They both went by Jim. They didn't, James, you can go by, Jimmy or James, but they both went by Jim. And, they didn't really, the family knew that, both families knew that there was a twin, but they didn't really question it. I don't think they knew when they were kids, growing up. But they did meet eventually. They met in, the 1970s. When they were older, and when they did, they kind of found out that their lives were a lot more similar than they thought. So this is gonna blow. Have you ever heard of the Jim twins? Mm-hmm. This is gonna blow your mind. It's crazy. So they both had a childhood dog that was named Toy. Which is weird. Okay,
right. That's a weird.
It's a weird. Name. It's a weird name, right?
And
it's
then
not Charlie or whatever.
Both
Toy.
name it.
Yeah. Both named Toy. They were both at school. They were both good at math and woodworking, but they couldn't spell. Here we go. Both of them were married twice. Both of them, their first marriage was to a lady named Linda. Their second marriage to a lady named Betty. Both of them, different Lindas and different Bettys.
That's crazy.
Yeah, this is before they've met each other. Both of them only had one son. Both of them named their sons James Allen.
What?
Both of them. Now the one Jim named his son James Allen Allan, and the other one named him James Allen Allen. But still,
right? If that's the only difference, girl.
Both of them. They both smoked. They were both heavy smokers. They both drove the same car, which is like a Chevrolet something. And then they both had security jobs. They had different jobs in security, but they both had jobs in security. And they both had the same vacation spot that they would go to year after year. So yeah.
Do you think they ever ran into each other and didn't realize it?
Apparently they were. Maybe at the vacation spot or just every day.
They were just let's blow everybody's minds, and they knew each other, and they did
the whole time.
The whole time,
and they planned this. I guess that's a possibility.
That's a very twin thing to do.
It is a very twin thing to do. But their story, so they met up finally, and they both found out all these
when
weird.
They weren't vacationing. In the
supposedly,
same spot.
right? Supposedly, they met up finally. They both found out that there's all this weird stuff about us, and they ended up going, and they were part of this study from the specific doctor that obviously wanted to study them. That he found out that their the wavelengths of their brain were the same. And, different stuff. They both had the same medical history, major issues, stuff like that, the physical stuff. And,
well, were they identical or?
They were identical twins,
okay,
yeah. They were identical. So that's not too bad. But again, this was, I think they met in 1979. And so this was in the 80s. I mean, this was before we had a bunch of stuff, a bunch of the research and things like that. So, for them, they ended up kicking off a bunch of different theories of twins. They both always felt empty growing up, so they always had that because they say twins are weird. I mean, twins have a different connection than other people, and but yeah, they both said they had just a general sense of emptiness, and that's been fulfilled since they've met each other. And they just having such a similar life, it kind of goes to it makes people question the nature versus nurture argument, because surely they were both raised differently. I mean, they were raised by two different families, so they couldn't have been raised exactly the same. Even kids in the same household are raised differently.
Well, girl, look at all these similarities they had. They don't seem that odd with this story.
Hey, you're right. If maybe it was the adopted parents were in on it and they planned this. I can see that. Because both with wives named Linda and then Betty, just all of it's so weird. Like, all of it is so strange. And it is such a bizarre story. And so it's like, what does that mean that they had that? Was it divine in some type of way? Is it just science? It just made sense? I mean, what?
Do you know any twins?
Well, the only ones I think I knew were Ethan and Eric. But other than that, no. Do you know other twins?
My mom's a twin.
Is she really? I didn't know that. Oh, you know what? No, actually, one of my bosses at the movie theater when I worked there, his wife was a twin, and I didn't know. And his family would always come in often. We were all really close at the theater, and his family would always come in often. And I had no idea until his wife came in one day, and she didn't have kids. And I was like, oh, where's the kids at? It wasn't like anything crazy. I was like, where's the kids at? He's like, that's my sister-in-law. And they're identical twins. And I was like, I asked him, I was like, have you ever like gotten them mixed up or anything? He said it only happened one time at a family event. And he like went to go like stand beside her or something like that. And it wasn't her. He came later to the event. So I was
he didn't like see what she was wearing.
Right. He didn't know, and
Yeah.
so he came later to the family event and ended up went to go greet his wife, but it was his girlfriend at the time, but it was her sister. So yeah, but other than that, no, I don't really know any twins. I just know that they do some freaky stuff.
It's weird because my mom is a twin, but she also married a twin.
That is weird.
So it's like if they had a kid,
they would have twins,
right?
Yeah. Well, she shouldn't be having kids.
Right. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
She's
It can't.
past that point. Wow, I didn't know. Are they identical or fraternal?
Both of them are fraternal. But it's weird because even with
her and husband.
Yeah. So even with like my mom and my aunt, I can still see like that weird twinness. So it's not always
they have like a different connection.
Yeah. It's like so like identical twins are obviously more similar.
Yeah.
But
they're cut from the same cell.
Right. Yeah. But fraternal twins, they have that same quality, but they're still like individuals.
Yeah. But
like
they've been together literally since the womb. Like,
right. Like my mom and my aunt both love to shop. Okay. And anytime they hang out, guess what they do?
Oh,
shop.
Okay.
And it's great. I love it. But, they're very similar in some ways, but they're also very different. And I think it's really kind of cool to see, like, the differences between identical twins and fraternal twins.
Fraternal twins, yeah.
But it's like Eric and Ethan were fraternal twins.
Yeah.
So it's like Ethan was tall, Eric was short. Like,
right.
how did that happen?
Ethan got all the talk. He was the big twin.
Right.
Aww.
He ate off Eric's little ankles.
But they were so similar,
They were so similar, but so different.
But so different. You're right. They had their differences, but at the same time, I would have people that have like met both of them individually and would like get them confused because they looked really similar too. Not exactly, but they'd be like, "Wasn't that one guy?" Just because the air that
they
about
act
them.
the same,
right? They just
do the same things.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen them fight?
No.
Oh my God.
No, you talked about it.
It's great to see.
You told me about it. They do like kung fu shit.
Oh yeah. And you know where they learn to fight?
Where?
Fucking Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
They would. That's so funny. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Oh no, I think they're the only twins that I've ever like known. I didn't know your mom was a twin. So her husband is your current stepdad?
Yeah.
He's the one that says plum all the time.
Plum fool. He's where I learned plum.
He taught you the ways of plum.
Yep.
That's funny. Now, how are him? Is it a brother then? Because there's like brother and sister fraternal twins
He's
too.
Brother and sister.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you see similarities between them?
Yep.
Really?
Like they're so much alike. Well, they even kind of look alike.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Just like the way they talk, the way they just act.
Yeah.
Like you said, the air about them is the same.
It's
except for clearly she's more feminine and he's more masculine.
Right.
Because they grew up in like the country.
Well,
so
even like Eric and Ethan, I think that Eric's more feminine and Ethan's was more masculine.
yeah,
You know, so I can see that being, and you might find that with your mom and her sister. I mean, they might have a feminine and a masculine, you know, but
I mean, not really. No,
that's interesting.
That's one of the ways that they're alike is they're very similar in nature. Like my mom definitely is a different type of mother than my aunt is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's those differences, but it's crazy how similar twins can really be.
And they just have a different connection. I mean, you have like, you know, your siblings. You know, me and Ivy both have siblings, and you don't really get along with yours. I mean, you do, but you don't. But even though you don't, it's a different relationship than with anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. Like, you know, even though you've had that, you know, well, like I've had like one of our friends, her brother would like torture the shit out of her when, you know, while she was growing up as a kid, but they're closer than ever now, but they're siblings, so it's like, that's what they do, you know. It's just what, you know, it's fucked up, the shit that they do to you. I mean, I have my younger sister, and I did some pretty fucked up shit to her, and I feel bad about it now, but, you know, she forgave me, and I feel bad, and that's it, you know, it's over. But you know, it is a different bond than you have with anybody else, you know, so it's like, imagine that, but on a twin level. So I'd imagine with like fraternal twins, it's probably the same type of bond that you have just with your regular siblings. It's just deeper, I guess. But then you go to identical twins, and that's just a whole new ballpark. I mean, you know, because I've read stuff about them. Like, there's a lot. Well, the Jim twins, you know, there's a lot of weird stuff. Their case is really extreme. But there's like that one pair of sisters who like didn't talk for like years and years and years, and then I think like they ended up, like one of them ended up killing somebody or something. We'll probably talk about that on another episode. But they were a set of twins, and they were like these two little girls, and they ended up like going to like some type of home or something like that. And they refused to speak. They would only speak to each other. And when they spoke to each other, they spoke in some type of code that only they could understand. Yeah. And a
lot of twins have
some type of language, that they speak.
Or they can literally communicate with their minds.
Without even talking to each other. They can communicate with just, you know. But you'll have, like, and you might have that with some people. Like, you might have, like, you know, well, you can have, like, a partner or, like, a best friend or something. Like, you can read their body language if you're, like, out and about. And you're like, oh... Maybe you're at a party and you can tell they want to leave. Like, you kind of have that without anybody saying anything. Right. You know, you can tell, but with them, it's just on a bigger scale. So, you know, twins are just weird in general. I don't know. Maybe we should have done a whole episode on twins.
Hey, we still can.
Get your mom on here. Get your stepdad.
You wouldn't be able to hear.
Your stepdad would be like, "That's plumb crazy." Literally. That's funny. But yeah, the Jim twins, they had a lot of similarities, and, you know, even more so than that. I mean, it could have been even synchronicities. You know, back to that again. Everything comes down to synchronicities. It could have been just a lot of synchronicities, and, you know, eventually it was the universe trying to guide them back together somehow, just doing it the only way the universe knows how, you know, and that's through similarity.
It also could have been that same kind of, you know, mental communication.
It could have been.
Because it's like, if one brother falls in love with a Betty, and then the other one interacts with a Betty, he could potentially
have that thought and be like, oh, this is supposed to happen. Or like naming your son, he's like, I'm going to name my son James Allen. And then the other one's like, I don't know why, but I just want to name my son James Allen.
You know?
That's true. I didn't think of it that way. That's very true.
But it's like, would they be cognizant of that if it actually was how it happened? Or if it was just like...
That would be a good question. I think they're still alive. I'm pretty sure they're still around. We should ask them.
Let's reach out to them.
Jim twins. Listen. We want to talk to you. Right. I'll see if they have a Twitter. I'll try to hit them up. But... yeah, that is a weird thought. I guess I never really thought of that. Man, that's crazy. That's pretty wild. We should get Karen to call them.
Yeah. Gotta get Karen on the case.
You gotta get Karen on the case. She's probably what solved the fucking Angel murder.
Right.
It was Karen.
Detective Karen.
She was out fishing at the river one day, and she's like, "Why is there trash in the river?"
Yep.
It's all ass body. That's horrible. I shouldn't joke about that too soon. Oh,
bitch,
Karen.
I think it's too late.
It's for you. Oh, you might be right. Oh, Karen, we need to get a Karen still, guys. We're casting for a Karen.
Right, where you at, sis?
We need you, Karen.
You can't be one of the Karens that are upset by being called Karen either.
Right,
because we gotta call you Karen.
We got to.
Because you gotta be on the case.
We can't call you Regina. You know, your name is Karen. We'll find
Regina on the report.
Regina on the report. Stop it. Now Karen's gonna get upset because someone's taken her job.
Right. Oh my God, the master, Karen Regina.
Karen Regina, yes.
What an awful name.
The Karen Regina case report. This has got to stop. We're creating a monster. I swear to God, if I fucking wake up one day and I see that TV show on, see it's been made into a show, I'm going to be so pissed.
Right, we need to patent that.
We do. We need to do it immediately because someone's going to take it.
She could be the next Nancy Grace.
Karen Regina? Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, you know what? She would show that bitch Nancy Grace a thing or two.
Right.
She would definitely, yeah. Nancy Grace don't want none of Karen Regina.
Right. Karen Regina would go to Nancy Grace, like, take me to your superior.
Oh, right.
You are my superior. Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh, that's funny. Well, anyway, so I think that is probably going to do it for this Weird Wednesday. We have I feel like a big milestone coming up in the next couple episodes. We're going to hit episode 10 soon. And when we do, we're going to do something a little different, but it's going to be fun. So definitely, stick around for that kind of fun. In the meantime, we're always open to topics.
You know what? Let's just go ahead and tell them.
You want to tell them what we're going to do?
Yeah. Because then
they could get some input in there.
Right.
Okay,
throw some questions at us.
Surprise! Episode 10 is going to be about, we're going to kind of interview each other and kind of explain to you guys, why we are weird or, what makes us want to get into the world of the weird or, stuff like that. So it's going to be a lot of personal questions. We're, going to go into a little bit more detail about kind of who we are and what we do and why we do it. And yeah, I mean, if you guys have any questions at all, definitely feel free to ask and we will include them in that episode. So a little Q&A. I think it's going to be fun. Of course, me and Ivy kind of have the advantage because we know each other and we've known each other for ever and ever and ever. But so, we both kind of know why each other's weird, but you guys don't. So,
right. We'll ask each other questions that we already know the answers to.
Exactly. And we'll just fake it. So,
but then also maybe the questions that we don't know the answers to. Well, we might learn
things. Like I said, I didn't know your mom was a twin. So that was new. I didn't know.
It'll be an experience for all of us.
Exactly. So, I mean, we might, learn some things, but if there's anything that you guys want to know, I mean, definitely feel free to ask. We're both extremely open people. I mean, I'm sure you guys can tell by all of the, the sex and the witchcraft and the sacrifices, that I frequently make every day. So I don't really have anything to hide, and I don't think Ivy really has anything to hide either. No. So we're for it. But like I said, that'll be episode 10. So not next week, but the week after that. So just, write the questions to us. You can do it either, commenting under the podcast is fine. Doing it through our social medias is fine. We'll be happy to answer anything that you guys got. So I think we're good here. Well, guys, until next time, we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.